circle of minds, a fire of thought, building some from what we've got. Grab a log, throw it on. The night is young. Welcome to the Inventive Fire. Together we'll light up the game. The crackling wood, it tells a tale. Lessons learned and ships that sail. Experts speak and the sparks cascade. Fueling dreams that will never fade. Bring your spark, your ember bright. Let's stoke the blaze through the endless night. Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan the flame. Together we'll light up the game. Hey, hey. Fight. Round the flame where the sparks ignite. Dreams take flight in the amber light. A circle of minds, a fire of thought, building some from what we've got. Grab a log, throw it on. The night is young. Welcome to the Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to another Inventive Fireside. Hey, if nothing else, hopefully you enjoyed the intro music, and I always enjoy it, but that's also my type of music. But excited for another Inventive Fireside this week. Appreciate everybody that's joining in, and looking forward to another great fireside. A lot of opportunities to learn new and different information to help you to expand and to grow your business. Just as a quick reminder to the audience before we dive in. So with this, we try and do these about every week. Sometimes I have conflicts come up or we don't have a guest lined up, but pretty close every week or so. We will do these on Fridays. So if you do want to see which ones are up and coming, we try and pretty well regularly keep it posted on my LinkedIn profile. So if you just go to my LinkedIn profile, click on the events tab, you can see kind of which ones both, I guess, which previous ones have been up and which ones you may want to go catch up on that we've already had the fireside. Still a great opportunity to learn, and also which ones are up and coming and which ones you might want to register and get those notifications for. So with that, this week we're having another great one, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how to be both a smart founder as well as kind of some of those growth traps that oftentimes will kind of sneak up on you, or otherwise, maybe something you're not aware of, which is always a position you're in when you're starting a business and getting going, especially your first time. So I'm excited to have on our guest this week, Curtis, and I'll turn over him just a second. But he's going to go through that, share some great knowledge and some good information, and looking forward to or have an opportunity to learn. So with that much as a quick wind up and a pitch, welcome on to Inventive Fireside, Curtis.
Hey, thank you for having me, Devin. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here today. You
Hey,
think about it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to go ahead and get started, unless you want to talk a little bit before we get started.
No, it's your show. Go ahead. So let's hear it.
All right, man. And I think about it like this. Most of us been working really hard. Sometimes we're doing all the right things and we're investing in strategies, and sometimes we still feel like we're hitting this income level or something is stuck, and we keep hitting the same level over and over again. I want to start by telling you this, that it's not a strategy problem, because I've worked with CEOs and founders and high performing people who know what to do, and they're still stuck at the same income level. And I found this. I found that you don't rise to your goals. You default to what you've intentionally aligned to. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Curtis McCullom. I'm the founder of Bespoke Human Potential Coaching. I help CEOs and CEOs and founders and high performance individuals to figure out what is it that they do right. But more importantly, what is it that one thing that's actually preventing them from becoming great, doing extremely well in growth? And sometimes it's something that it's a blind spot that's limiting their growth that often they don't even realize what it is. So I work with them to focus on and uncovering what's actually happening beneath the surface, because once you become clear, everything else starts to shift. And what I'm going to walk through today is just kind of share with you some ideas on why people get stuck or why they're continue to do what they do. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different in the sense that we're going to give you not more tactics. A lot of people come give you a lot of tactics. No, we're not going to give you more funnels. We're not going to give you a lot of marketing strategies. Here, I'm going to cover a few things. First, I'm going to cover why founders get stuck. Why are you stuck where you are? Why you're not really growing the way you want to grow, even though you know exactly what to do. And number two, we're going to actually what's causing the hesitation, the overthinking, the delay, because it's happening what people think. Right. And number three, what we're going to do, and I'm going to end with a simple way to actually shift this in real time. So by the end of this, you'll have something practical that you can actually use. That's what I always like, something, if I can use something, so that you can actually take it to the next level. So let's start with, what is it? Let's start with the message is really intended for, who is it intended for? I really want to do this first. It's actually intended for those who's actually achieving results, but like I said before, something is stopping them. So we're going to be talking about, and usually it shows up like overthinking decisions or procrastination or hesitation. Those are the things that actually stop them from doing that. And this is the problem. Many individuals mistakenly believe that their income ceiling is determined by their external factors. They often think that if they can have a better strategy or improve their leads or more efficient systems, but here's the truth. You don't accidentally hit a ceiling by accident and stabilize there. And the reason you stabilize and the reason you're not growing up the way you want to grow is something most people never have been taught. Is what I call the success of homeostasis. The success of homeostasis, what is that? What is homeostasis? Homeostasis. Homeostasis is in the conscious mind. When we think about it, it's when it's a level that's actually internal that we never really figured out what it was. But see, on the human body, on the homeostasis side, when I'm talking about homeostasis, we're actually seeing that what we're sharing here is that the homeostasis, most people associate homeostasis with the physical body, the temperature regulations, the heart in the equilibrium. But on the psychological level, it's the subconscious it has its own version of homeostasis. It's the familiar identity. Your subconscious has a primary role for you, and the primary role for your subconscious mind is to stay safe and be alive. So what does it do when you want to create? It stays what is familiar. That's why you have an income that's familiar to you. You have confidence that's familiar to you. You have impact that's familiar to you. You have visibility that's familiar to you. Your success is familiar. When you try to move beyond that familiar identity, you say, I want to grow. I want to grow. I really want to grow. But that's not familiar to your subconscious mind. It says, no, I want to slow down. Not because it's bad, because it's new. This is why people can be highly skilled, people can be highly trained, people can be deeply talented. They can even, but they still stay stuck at the same level for years and years and years. It's because their subconscious homeostasis is calibrated to a past version of themselves. So why does this happen? What is it that causes this? When I look at this, I call the model of the mind. I'm going to simplify it a little bit. To think about it like this, your model of the mind is like an iceberg. And with this iceberg, you have the top of the iceberg is your conscious mind, which is only 5% of all our behavior. That gives us our reasoning, our analysis, our willpower, logic, and decision making. And then we have our critical mind, which is that part of our mind that deletes, distorts, and generalizes information, prevents us from being overloaded. Because think about it, we have 11 million bits of information coming to us every second, and we can only process about 50 bits of that information. So in order for our brains to kind of actually function, it has to delete, distort, and generalize information. So it always goes back to, if you look at the bottom down here, it goes back to known associations. It goes back to beliefs. It goes back to values. It goes back to your attitudes, remember, decisions, and language in space, time, and matter. So when we're looking at that, so what is it that now stops you from becoming who you are? There's one thing in this list that we're going to kind of focus on to kind of give you what I'm talking about is values. What are values? When you look at values basically is your deepest level programming. Most of us have missed this. They never even thought about it. And the core of values is it's not a preference. It's not a nice ideal. It's not a moral statement. Values is the deepest level subconscious programming. And this is what it does, guys. It determines how you're going to move forward, what are you going to move away from, what feels safe, what feels threatening, what you're allowed to do or not allowed to do. It basically what you tolerate, what you avoid, and what you attract. That's what that values actually does. And ultimately, it determines what you're going to create. See, you don't behave randomly. You actually behave according to what your subconscious believes that matters most. And your values are, when your values are aligned, your life flows. When your values are in conflict, your life feels stuck. So most of us, when you find yourself still stuck, you want to do more, you need to figure out what is it that's stopping my income, that's stopping my growth, that's stopping me from actually becoming, even if I'm new, it's always going to go back to what I'm familiar with, and basically could be that your values are at work. Why values work, and it's not optional, it's foundational. So what happens is that when our values are out of alignment, when we're out of alignment, it looks like this. We want to do something. We want to do better. We want to move forward. Here we are. There you go. So when the values are out of line, let me close this off. When the values are out of alignment, it basically you have a program conflict. Your subconscious mind says, "Hey, I want to go. I want to set goals," but your subconscious going in a totally different direction. So that's why you have a conflict in which actually stops your behavior. So conscious, it kind of resists at the same time. And so basically always remember your conscious mind is your goal getter. Your subconscious mind is your goal setter. And so now you have a conflict. But how does it actually look? It looks like this. Have you ever thought about it like this? When your values are aligned, everything is in flow. When your values are in conflict, you feel stuck. And have you ever tried to set a goal? You progress, you feel discomfort, you sabotage, and you go back to baseline. You said, okay, hey, I want to expand my business. I want to make $100,000 a year, right? And you start on that and you start going up to make the $100,000, but then something stops you. You feel that discomfort, you sabotage, and guess what happens? You go back down to baseline. Sliding right back down to where you were. Why? That's the comfort. That's what we talked about homeostasis. You're not comfortable at that level. You said, well, I want to expand my business. And so you start to expand your business. You go up, up, up. And then guess what? After a while, same thing happens. You have progress, you have discomfort, you have sabotage, then you go back down to baseline. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. When we're talking about real life situations, is when we cannot figure out what is it that's stopping us. That's the part. That's what we want to look at, is the fact that what is it that's stopping us? What is it that's preventing us from going to doing what we want to do? So we go up and we go down. We go up and we go down until we figure it out. When we stop that slide, that's when what we try to do in my practice, we help you go past that so that now everything flows. You can actually become the best version of yourself. And this is the thing. It's basically awareness. Awareness is just the beginning, you guys. Because before you can shift a belief, before you can transform a pattern, you first have to be aware that there is a problem. Not judgment, not analysis, it's as simply at the moment that says, oh, what's happening right now? This is what you have to understand. Every transformation begins with the moment of recognition. In my practice, what I do, I do my best work with my clients. We discover what's actually driving their behavior. We start with the question. The question I always start with all of my clients is, why are you here? Why are you in this session? Why are you doing what you're doing? What's actually stopping you? And what we're looking for here, we try to bring to consciousness the issue so that they can uncover the greater problem. And here's the powerful thing. The subconscious already knows the truth. It already knows the awareness. We got to just simply bring it to surface. And this coaching, this is not a coaching principle. This is a human truth, is that it has been echoed for thousands and thousands of years. I remember it's a biblical principle when he says, like, confess your faults. What he's saying is just acknowledge wherever you are in your journey. That's the beginning of the learning. And that's the power of it. So now what can we do? How can we make a shift today? How can we make a shift today? And the shift is simple. The first thing is, instead of trying to push through it or ignore it, pause. Just stop. And notice whatever you're feeling in the moment. You said, well, I'm feeling like I want to make more income, but something is feeling, I don't know what it is. Just stop for a second and ask yourself, what is it? What am I feeling? And don't be afraid to really identify with it. Don't make it your identity, but identify. It's just telling what you're feeling. I mean, even as an entrepreneur, even earliest today, I was feeling some fear about a situation. But then once I understood that, I asked myself, what is it I need? I went to step 2, it's identity. I did not say that I was afraid. I am afraid. Basically, the only thing I said is I'm feeling. It's okay to identify. Number 1, notice what you're feeling. Number 2, what is the story running behind that? What is it? What is that feeling? Because it's always a narrative. Stop and then think, but don't become the identity of it. Don't say, I am this. Basically, say, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, or I can't stop this, or the income is not to my level. What is it that's actually stopping me from doing that? So number 1, notice that I'm feeling still stuck. Number 2, what is the story? Identify with it. And number 3, it's realign. It's moving forward. Keep moving. Basically, now you can ask your higher self, what is it that you need to continue to move forward so that once it gets a learning, once the subconscious mind gets a learning, then it allows whatever you've been feeling to kind of start to release. So when you're stuck, stop, notice the feeling. Number 2, identify what is the story that's running behind it. And number 3, realign. Take some deep breathing. Allow yourself to kind of go into what I said, not your parasympathetic nervous system, so that now you are in a relaxed, you can think. And once you can think, you can ask better questions. When you ask better questions, you get better answers from yourself. Then you can take inspired actions to kind of keep moving forward. So right now we can go ahead and take some questions from you, Devin.
Awesome. No, that was a great walkthrough. A lot of helpful information and definitely insightful. I mean, one question that came to mind, and you touched on it a bit, but I'll reiterate it maybe. I think that, I think everybody, first of all, everybody loves lists. If you have lists and it feels like it's nice to check off the box and say, hey, I've done this in my list, and I don't know that life and business is ever that easy. But kind of along those lines, but a little bit different as far as a question. If you're to look and say, what are some of the top things that tend to hold people back, even if they otherwise could be successful, but there's, what is it? Making up excuses for themselves? Is it not enough time? Is it work-life balance? Is it, not enough money? Or kind of what do you see as some of those things, whether they're valid or invalid or somewhere in between, that tends to hold people back?
I think the biggest thing that I've found that really hold people back is a limiting belief or a lie that they feel that they're not worthy of the next level. Meaning they don't.
Yeah, and follow up to that. Why do people? Because it's almost that the imposter syndrome type of a thing where and I have my own things. I'll give my thought in a second. But what before I tape the answer with my thoughts, what do you think? Why people have that almost kind of the imposter syndrome, or why they don't feel worthy?
The biggest one is, for me, what I found when I'm working with clients, Devin, is that usually it's something that they accepted and decided between age of 0 and 7. Something that a parent said, something that an uncle, brother, cousin, nephew said, maybe jokingly or a teacher said something when they were small that they don't even remember what it was, but it always makes them feel like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I should have this. I was born and raised in a Christian family, and we had a lot of limitations based on that, meaning based on that belief system. So sometimes, usually, it's because they remember we talked about the subconscious mind, all these beliefs and these values when they actually start. Usually, it's during our imprinting stage when we're like a sponge, and we gather in all this information, and somebody says something, and we decide to accept that as being true, even though it is a lie.
So, and I think that makes sense, but I'll follow up, and I always play devil's advocate. So let's say that's inherently true, is something that was when you're a kid, when you're younger, you may not even recall. How do you even go about identifying? In other words, if it's something that happened to me when I'm 7 years old and I don't even remember being 7 years old, which that's my memory. Maybe other people remember being 7 years old. I probably have like maybe one memory if I really thought about it. But most of the time I probably wouldn't even remember. So if that's the case, how do you even go about overcoming that or addressing it because you don't even remember it, so to speak?
Right. Well, there's a couple of ways. Now, obviously, if they came to me, then I'm going to help facilitate that, right? Because of the fact that it's like, because I can see you outside. It's hard sometimes. Some of the things that we talk about, we can do on our own. We can kind of stop and ask ourselves, okay, what is that belief? When was the first time I've ever felt that, right? We can ask ourselves that question. Sometimes when it comes from some person outside of you who specializes in this, I'm asking you the same question. And now, because I'm asking it to you, I'm not asking your conscious mind, I'm asking your subconscious mind, Devin, when was the first time that actually happened? And then immediately, whatever the first thought that comes to mind, that's the thought we go with. Then what they need to do is, whatever that thought is, ask themselves, okay, what was the first time I've ever felt like I was unworthy? Just go with that and allow yourself to come with the first thought. Then what you want to do is now look at that and says, okay, what can I learn from that? So that was a lie. What is the truth? The truth is that I'm confident, I'm lovable. That's what the truth is. And then start to accept that as truth, kind of reframing that belief. So you might not know what it is. You might not know the exact date, but when I do on a timeline, your subconscious mind has a place where that feeling or that thought first came about. You might not even remember what was happening then. That's okay. Yeah. It's just the fact that it's a feeling or a thought that you came up with that your subconscious mind says that's what it is. And then just go with it and then ask yourself, okay, now what is it that I need to learn from this? Ask what is you need to learn from that so that you can allow it to pass through. One of the things I teach my clients is that a feeling is just an emotion that wants to communicate with us and leave. So that feeling doesn't want to stay. It just want to tell you, hey, you are good enough. Yes, you are capable. Yes, you are more than enough. And that's what it wants to kind of teach you.
So, and we're starting to reach towards the end, but I do have one follow-up question before my final question I ask for every fireside. But follow up to that. So, I mean, I think one of probably my own preconceptions, but I don't think I'm alone. Maybe I am, but that's a different conversation. But is kind of like therapy, right? In the sense that I think sometimes people are hesitant to go to therapy because there is no predefined end goal. So in other words, how do I know that I'll put in quotes fixed, not that you know you're broken or not that you ever are entirely fixed, but that's kind of the hesitancy is if I start going to therapy or I talk to a therapist, I'm going to be doing this for the next 30 years and every week they'll say, I think you made good progress. I'll see you next week and make sure to bring your checkbook type of thing. And there's obviously that's an exaggeration. Yeah. But how do you ever know when you're making or what is the end goal or you made meaningful progress or you've addressed a concern so you're not in coaching or therapy, whatever it is, for the next 30 years and just having an open paycheck? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And that's why I do what I do. What we do is that number one is I don't want you to stay with me for 30 years because I don't have the patience for it. That's number one. And number two is that what we do, we get rid of it normally in the first. I have a 1-day mindset reset where we actually reset the whole system. Then we might do maybe 5 to 10 coaching sessions to kind of make sure it's conditioned. Then I'm going to get you tools so that you can continue to move forward. That's the whole idea. It's not like, for lack of a better, it's not talk therapy. Basically, we're there to get rid of it, figure out what it is, so that now you can move forward. So I totally agree with you. It's like, because I don't want you staying with me. I don't want you depending on me to solve your problems. I want to share with you how you can now operate your mind so that you can solve your own problems. And every time something comes up, you have a tool now to actually overcome it. So that's that question.
No, and I like that. Because I don't think that there's always goals and milestones, and you always have things that you can work on. But I think that giving those tools and giving direction, and then having some defined endpoints, don't think I'd want to be in therapy for 30 years.
Oh no, I don't either.
Nor would you want to be my therapist for 30 years. That's a whole different can of worms. But no, I think that's definitely a good and insightful. Well, I'm sure we could go on for a much longer period of time. It'd be a great conversation, but I try and keep these at manageable and bite-sized firesides. But I always do like to wrap up each episode or each webinar with the same question. So we'll jump to that now, which is I always love to listen to. I used to say read, and I don't really read. I read plenty of stuff, but don't sit down and read books or that very often. But I love to listen to audiobooks as well as podcasts, always looking for ones to add to the queue. So I'm going to throw that out to you, which is, what is one of your favorite books or podcasts?
My favorite books of all time is still Think and Grow Rich. And I looked at my practice not too long ago, and I didn't even realize that most of the things that I teach and coach in my coaching practice is from that book, Think and Grow Rich. It has so many great principles that are still alive today. He talks about the subconscious mind. He talks about a mastermind. He talks about having an ordinate desire. He talks about being clear on what you want and being able to, you want it so badly that you just cannot not have it. So basically, in the legit mindset, the framework is actually steeped in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, I wouldn't, I was gonna say unfortunately, but also fortunately, I have that one has been on the list. I have listened to that one before, but it's always a great reminder. I think it's you hit on. It's a great. It has a lot of great information in there, and always gives me a reminder to go back and revisit it at some point. Although my list is getting longer than I'm able to keep up with. Someday I'll get back to it. Maybe when I'm retired, and then I'll say, "Oh, that's all the things that I missed out on."
There you
But
go.
no, I appreciate you coming on, share. That's a great book for everybody to add to their list. As we do wrap up, if people do want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Well, basically, number one, they can link. Link on with me on LinkedIn right here, and or they can go to curtismccullom.com or bespokehumanpotentialcoaching.com, and then there is a spot in the right hand corner that says, "Hey, I want to meet with you, Curtis. 15 minutes. Let's talk a little bit. It's a free 15-minute conversation we can have to see wherever you are on your journey. I don't even know if I can help you, and I might not want to help you. You might not be who I want to talk to, and vice versa. And it's okay. We can just have a good conversation to figure out how we're a right match for each other. So they can reach me on my website at curtismccullom.com. That's the best place to reach me, or even here on LinkedIn.
Awesome. I definitely encourage people to reach out, support a great business, expand their network, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So,
Yes.
with that, thank you, Curtis, for coming on to Inventive Fireside, for sharing. Thanks for the audience for attending, and always hopefully is a good opportunity to learn a few new things, put some tools in your toolkit to expand and grow your business. As a quick reminder to the audience, as I mentioned at the beginning, we always have about once a week we'll have one of these Inventive Firesides, typically on Fridays. So if you want to see which ones are up and coming or which ones that we've already had that may be of interest, you can always go to my LinkedIn profile. Just click on the events tab, and that will be all listed there for what's up and coming and what we've already touched on. But thank you again, Curtis. Thank you again for the audience. And until we connect again, wish everybody the best of luck on the next leg of their journey.
Thank you, David.
All right, so we are out. So every time, it feels like the last few times I've done this, every time that I've done it, or it is one where they or Zoom will update their interface.